Backyard, my YouTube channel where I talk about edible things and also subtropical, tropical, beautiful plants, and also permaculture, backyard chickens, even rabbits. If you like that kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe and join the channel. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, just use any of the links in the description to access Amazon. Anytime you're going to Amazon to purchase anything, just use one of the links there to get there, and then you will help us, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, so that's just an easy way to go. The other thing is, if you like this video, the content, please give it a thumbs up. That lets me know that you like it. All right, so we're waiting for folks to jump on the stream. We've got a few popping on now. Welcome. It's been a little few days since I've done a live stream, but I have been working around the yard quite a bit. And thank you to everybody who took the recent survey I put out there, which was asking about preferences for a new series that I'm getting ready to release. And I have 3 or 4 different series that I was planning put together. And anyway, so I put out categories. It was fruit trees, bamboo was another category, palm trees was another one, and the most popular by far was the fruit tree category of videos. So that's the one I'm going to be starting with, but I'm still going to be doing series on those others. Look at the pollinators buzzing around. So good to see that, by the way. See bees buzzing around. There's actually a bee's nest underground over there, my neighbor's water meter area, and I've been hesitating to say anything about it because I kind of like the bees there, but I've been stung by them about 5 times so far, but I wonder, if they're potentially Africanized bees that would swarm and cause a bad scenario. You gotta wonder, but I think most bees are just trying to get their pollen on. When I first moved into this house, the backyard was all grass with a couple just boring landscaping type shrubs here and there. One navel orange tree that tragic story. I ended up spraying some insect repellent, which is not something I'd ever do now, but back in those days it seemed like a good idea because of a giant brown widow spider that had made a nest, and it killed the tree. But one of the things I remember from coming out here was that no pollinators whatsoever. Like I think I had neighbors too that would fog with all kinds of pesticides, so it's really, you're part of a larger system. Even if you're doing food permaculture in your backyard, if you have bees around, that's a pretty wonderful thing and necessary. And I have added tons of things that make this a magnet for bees. So we're on every bee's radar for a mile from here, I would imagine. And I could list off 10 types of flowers that the bees could feast on right now, to include the subject of this video, which is the banana status. I love bananas. I love growing bananas. They are one of my favorite possible things to grow, and they are such a bountiful producer, so easy to grow. They do have a small amount of things that can go wrong, certainly, but I found them to do very well in the loose sandy soil of my barrier island backyard, which is basically like living on a sandbar. And it's very loose soil, so the bananas love that. And they thrive. So these giant Musa bananas are kings in the yard for sure. And these were all transplanted, all of them, in just giant cuttings from where the chicken coop is now. And by the way, I can hear the chickens complaining. They are really confused as to why they haven't been let out already. Good thing is for this chicken coop is, you see, even this time of day, look at how much sunlight is hitting that. So I don't have to worry because of where I put it. I don't have to worry about it starting to get hot inside that coop and let these little chickie-doos suffer in any way. But you can see I've also got full ventilation, so the east wind just flows directly in here and always pushing air through. So really good airflow. That's one of the reasons I decided to build it like this. All right, let's use it. We don't often do this, but let's get a peek into chicken life. The mysterious world of the chickadoos. Oh, look at you girls. Look at you. Don't jump out. No, 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 no. All right, they were about ready to jump. Those are some eager hens. All right, let's let them out. By the way, I'd like to point out this door. Don't overcomplicate things is my advice to me and to you. This is just a simple piece of garden fence, which I fastened on to the cage. And it serves as a perfect little door. Now, these chickens are not going to push out beyond that, so it's more than enough. Very few oh, they're getting excited. You hear them in their coop. Now, this morning ritual, if you're familiar with the channel, you know what's about to happen. But for those who might be new, we're going to allow these chickens to come down into the coop, and then we're going to have the whole flock wander into their back area foraging stuff, which they are very eager to get into. They eat live bugs and have all kinds of adventures. Okay. Good morning. Hey, you're not usually the last one out. How'd that happen? That's our top hen, Ponzi. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ooh, they're eager. So what I do is I get them all stacked up at the front. They know exactly what to do. But one thing I'm going to do is make sure that this is ready. Okay, so, hey, SR1. Yeah, the hens are ready to march. We're going to march the hens into their henny paradise, and this curved thing, which is also a door, I just shut it here, but this directs them right on in. So, all right, let's see if we can have the happiest chickens possible. Oh, yeah. Good morning, ladies. Wow. Ooh. This is where they always love to spread their wings. Good advice for everybody every morning. Spread your wings. Do what the chickens do. They are up early and ready to go. Aren't they beautiful birds? Holy moly. Look at that. The tail feathers. Whoa. I see her. Look at that. They're so tame, it's amazing. Whoa, that's adorable. Look at how, you see how they let you press them down like that? That is actually a classic hen behavior, which is why they go down so quickly like that. But that's what the rooster will do, you know? So you actually, what I've read is to some extent you replace the function of a rooster in these hens, you know, pecking order. Ooh, like that. Okay, come on, girls. Let's keep it moving. I know we got distracted. It happens. But if we leave you here too long, we're gonna have too much chicken manure in the area. Come on, girls. For some reason, they don't want to go back today. All right. There they go. That's interesting. Usually one will jump right up on the roosting bars, of which we have many options. Right back to that corner today. Interesting. Coming back. You remember, this is about the time when we do mealworms, right? You know, it's interesting. Chicken chasing, which is something that happens all over the world, is not really that necessary with these birds because, as you can see, they let you actually just touch them. They're very tame, as chickens go. Okay, what brand of Moringa seeds did I use? I'm gonna have to go look at the specific brand. It had what looked like garlic, like a cartoonish like depiction of garlic on the front of it, and it began with an M. Morel, maybe. I'll go look. I'll tell you what. Do me a favor, just leave a comment, and then I'll respond to the comment because that'll pop up in my queue of things to do, and I'll let you know exactly the brand that I used. They were about like $9 or $10. Yeah, and we're gonna look at all the bananas. We're also gonna look at the moringa as we go by. I went with the commercial planting of moringa style here in the front, so always trying new things. The moringa I've been growing here, which really it's kind of cool because it represents 3 different ages of moringa tree, all in, they're not in age order here, but this one being about a half-year-old, this one being about 3 months old, and this one maybe a month and a half. A Sirius 1337. Yeah, more of a Chicken Madness video. Well, without the chickens, we don't get the tasty nanas. We gotta have the chickens for the bananas. So it's all part of the circle of life. From the moringa, to the chicken, to the banana, to the mouth. And by the way, we're gonna dehydrate these bananas, friends. I'm going to, now that I've got a dehydrator, I've been getting crazy with the dehydrator. I mean, it's just become an obsession of mine. It becomes an obsession because you tend it, over the course of time when it's drying out what I've been drying out is fruit and some vegetables. And I'm about ready to move into drying the leaves of plants like these moringa and Montingia leaves and soursop and even hibiscus, Rosella. It's interesting. I made an oleander video a while back, and I called it what everybody I knew had called it, which was Orleander. And oh man, what a stir! It's not Orleander. It's like there's some percentage of the comments on this channel which are just like basically you mispronounced this thing. It's like, well, I guess it's just going to be mispronounced perpetually until YouTube doesn't exist. But anyway, yeah, so 3 different stages, and they're all doing quite well, I would say. This is the sunny time of the year for them in this area. So, okay, let's look at the banana grove. Now, I've almost got this entire area cleansed of bananas, and what I mean cleansed is cleansed from the possibility of dealing with them up in these lines here. So we can't have that. I make this mistake over and over. I try to help folks watching the channel not to, but I always do it. My eyes are always bigger than my stomach, so to speak, in this category, but I've got almost all the bananas, still one there, and it's tempting me, just let it grow. Maybe there's somehow it would just kind of like grow this way and not actually lean up against the 220 line there and there. But really the right thing is move it. And everything that I've got growing here, you can see I've repopulated this whole area with things that are intended to provide shade and also forage. So they're multi-purposed, but mulberry, pigeon pea, of course, the classic. Got to have pigeon pea, by the way. If you don't have pigeon peas, you're missing out. A huge crop of food. And I'll allude to the video I'm going to make as soon as I can make it reasonably, which is going to be when my egg production and a few of these various forage crop type things start producing. But I plan to eat from just my backyard for a week. I think that'll be a fun experiment. Probably lose some weight. Yeah, anyway, we'll see. But yeah, so I grow all this stuff, but I've got to remove that one. But that's the remnant of a massive banana clump that extended this whole area of this chicken coop. I had to move it, and I did. And some of the cuttings, and I'm not even kidding, weighed 60 pounds. 60-pound banana tree transplanted to another area. I wouldn't call that a pup. That's like transplanting a lot of weight. But I moved it all here, pretty much, all of them here, and just packed them in tightly, and they're doing quite well now. You know, they've gotten the advantage of the loose soil, first of all. The soil. Second thing is the bunny manure, which was waves and waves of bunny manure I put on here, which is one of the best, highest grade manures you can possibly use. I mean, don't even talk to me about cow manure, because if you have bunny manure, it's many orders of magnitude more intensely wonderful. And you can put it, by the way, directly on everything. So unlike the chicken manure, unlike the cow manure, you know, hot manures and cold manures, bunny manure is a cold manure. So these banana trees had the advantage of being fertilized with that incredible manure. Okay, the other thing they had was the advantage of being watered with vermiculture, vermiculture, which is vermiculture is the worm tea. And I've been, you know, I heavily applied worm tea to all of this. So it gets the flora and fauna, the nutrients, a lot of the things in order. And then what you see is, you know, they pop into growth. And I believe the fruit that they produce in this newly transplanted state will be much less than if it had been grown here the entire time. Obviously, I damaged the roots around these guys pretty badly by transplanting them, but they've, you know, you can make up for some things. And I might even get a decent yield, but we'll see how many bananas actually set here. I don't expect a big hand here, but it'll be something. But more importantly, you got to look at this time when it's fruiting, what's happening down on ground level. And what you're going to expect to see are some pups growing. If you're lucky, you have 2 pups or 3 pups growing. But one is okay. Now, I'm a little worried, and you could tell me if this is a concern. Since these are new chickens in my life, I'm wondering if their manure at any point would hurt these bananas from it being, you know, uncomposted and laying on the surface and so on. So I don't think so, because it's going to lay up on top of all these branches. You can see I'm putting a lot of organic stuff in here. You know, everything, and I'll show you the mango leaves that are about to go in. I already did one wave of mango leaves from some cuttings I took, some major trimming I did on my Tommy Atkins to prepare. Oh, look at you, Chicken Joe. You want to jump right over that. Yeah, she figured out how to fly over this thing earlier, and it was because the worm farm was up on this platform I made. So I moved it down, and they haven't done it since. We're going to have to clip their wings here. But anyway, I was a little worried that perhaps the hot manure nature of the chickens would hurt the bananas, but it sure doesn't seem to. They all seem to be doing well, with the exception of one which died, but given the amount, I probably transplanted 20 banana trees here and plants, and given that only one died, I would have a hard time attributing that to anything. But I'll show you the one that died. And I halfway think this one will come back. And one of the things you can do if you get one of these, you know, it's probably just that there wasn't enough starch, or there wasn't enough energy built up in the root ball or something that it died, or I didn't plant it soon enough and it got rotten or whatever. But one of the things you can do is just to chop it close to the ground to release its responsibility to all the rest of this stuff to maintain it and make it grow a shoot. Now, I did that thing here. It was doing the same thing. It was starting to die, and I just chopped it to the base. I'll show you. The base is already rotted away. That's quite interesting, actually. Oh, there it is. Okay, that's what was left over. Yeah, so I chopped it off, and yeah, I just leave that right there because it's got exactly what that banana tree needs. Chop and drop, always. This grew right out of there, twice as strong. And this will be a champion. It's a little guy now, but that'll be every bit of a 20-foot banana plant. And I'm focusing, as I expand the food forest, over the next year, I'm going to be really focusing on establishing an understory component to the garden. Now that I have a way to deal with everything I am growing, meaning that, anything additional that I'm looking for things to trim to have nutrient returns back in now. So I've reached that point, which is the perfect time to get that going. Great way to do it is by getting the understory stuff rocking. But a little bit surprised at how well. Hey, Myrna Laura, thank you for jumping on the stream. I appreciate you. I am surprised at how lush and how well this transplanted grove has done. I did a few videos on the transplanting of it and so on and so forth. It was quite the ordeal for me. But well worth it and so satisfying, man. I mean, you can do a lot of things, but the idea that you're able to, just assist life a little bit here and get this bounty is just incredible to me. It never gets old for me, and that's probably why you're watching stuff like this, is because it's something you're already into. And, this is what we do on the streams. What I like to do on the streams is just see what we encounter, have a general theme, and then, also allow people on the stream to comment and ask questions and participate and whatever. But this I just encountered last week. I didn't even see it. Look at that. Sometimes it's better not to even know the name and just come up with our own name for it. What do we want to call this? The mustache plant. That looks like a mustache. Excuse me, mustache. Mustache. Yeah. What is it? It's actually a frangipani. I'm trying to be funny, but it's rotoplate, but I like that one, SR1. Yeah. Well, I already told you. It's a frangipani. Or better known as, and this is why the whole name thing is so funny to me. People really get bent out of shape about names. I'm not saying any of you will, but that is not a frangipani. It's called a plumeria. That's really what I think the scientific name is plumeria. It's a kind of very soft-wooded, shrub-like tree that comes in hundreds of varieties and produces the most incredibly fragrant flowers you can imagine. They're used as the foundational flower in Hawaiian lei making. Each flower is unique on each plant. Each leaf is unique. The growth tendencies of it are all unique. I don't know if the seed pod part is unique, but when you get them to a certain maturity, you get this, which is just bizarre. Now, I know what happens next because I've seen these before, and there are probably a couple others if we looked around in this frangipani here. This variety here is don't they smell amazing? I never get, it's like, here's some things. Jordan Peterson says in his Rules for Life thing, pet a cat, stop and pet a cat. You see a cat, stop and pet it, and then, wash your hands afterwards. But I always stop and pet a cat, and I'm not virtue signaling there. I'm saying, stop and smell the flowers, man. Would be my advice. And the frangipani is always, listen to you, always one worth smelling. But this will open up, and then the seeds actually have like a fuzziness on them, I guess, to disperse them, but they're pretty easy to grow. This is the easiest thing in the world to grow from a cutting. Tons of videos on that on the channel if you're interested. Just, basically, you don't need to watch a video to know. You chop a piece off, let it dry a little bit on the end, stick it in the ground, stick it in a pot. But yeah, so this banana grove is totally going off. And I'll show you where else I expanded the grove to, since this is a banana themed video. Thank you for everybody jumping on the stream. I appreciate you very much for being part of this. It makes it a lot more fun. All right, let's see if I can. Do you see that? You hear that? These are the cicada. I love the cicada. For me, it's a very soothing sound. I'm not trying to get corny, but it's a great thing to meditate to. just to simply stop and sink into your senses is a good thing, I would say. But there's the shell of a cicada, which, by the way, is made of largely calcium. And what is calcium good for? Calcium's good for chickens. Okay, I'm going to change my position. Looks like we're kind of getting out of a good spot to transmit. I'm going to look back at that comment from Lena. All right, so banana plant only gave you bananas once. Just chop down, little ones grow, but... Sorry, it keeps wanting to close the live chat. I wish I could keep it open. Yeah, you have some more little ones. That's right. Yeah, the pup nature, the sprouts at the base. Yeah, all of these were taken from small pups at the base of banana trees and grown in pots, some of them, and then transplanted to the ground, and some just directly placed in the ground. And these are many varieties of bananas in this corner here, but I'm quite pleased with how this is coming along. Oh, Sharon Rachel, but you sure did SR1. I think you should go back to Sharon Rachel. I kind of like that more. But although SR1 sounds like almost like maybe a music group, SR1. I like it. But good to know. All right, so yeah, many varieties of bananas here. These are all doing quite well for where they are. And the reason I think these are not quite as lush as the other ones yet is just because I've been neglecting the watering of them to some extent. I still water quite a bit. Watered last night, water several times a week, but there have been a couple weeks, I'll admit to you, I slacked on the watering. And that's not what you want for the bananas, because in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do is correctly water your bananas. You know, anything, any fruit, if you're trying to produce fruit, you are going to want to provide that fruit tree with enough water. And then there's that what is enough part of it, which is, you know, the Goldilocks zone of watering for that particular thing, which you kind of get a feel for. You know, some fruit can actually end up getting too much water and then split or have problems like that. I've definitely had that occur. Sometimes you can't prevent that from just the amount of water you get because of weather. But yeah, I think that's the basic idea. Now, as you can see, this one is almost ready to harvest. This one's going straight in the dehydrator, and I've been making sure I water them now to give this fruit enough water to grow as big as it possibly can. Don't they look incredible? That is, by the way, these are the most delicious bananas. All these finger bananas are incredible. But yeah, so that is the Musa, the giant Musa again. And then around it, I planted these dwarf Cavendish, which is a good way to go. It's kind of like the Three Sisters thing, or whatever, the technique of planting things around and then plant things that help these things around these things. Yeah, do I know the exact name of the bananas? It's Musa, M-U-S-A, and I don't know the specific type of Musa, unfortunately. These are dwarf Cavendish bananas. These are actually really commonly available. It's interesting it gets this darkness. I don't usually get that in my lawn. I mean, in my yard, but I've seen that around. I wonder what that is. But anyway, it's a variegated type, so they actually get some black kind of variegated stripes, and the leaves are really pretty, really easy to grow. Yeah, Musa Bazju. Yeah, serious. Thanks. I would be willing to say that's the truth, yeah, because I think that one is known to get up 20 feet taller, something like that. These are definitely giants, but not as giant as giant gets. I've seen others that are far bigger, but look at this, the Musa. Yeah, it's a fungus. The fungus among us. What do we do about fungus? And you know what my advice is? Don't do anything about it. Make your plants so healthy that they can coexist with fungus, and if the fungus wins, well, plant something new. That's my approach. But look at this. Holy moly, what is that? Oh wow, that's weird. I don't know what that is. Well, you can see banana flower. Banana flowers don't have much of a smell. but it's the tip of the, this ends up falling off, usually just gets dry and then falls off. But yeah, each one of these bananas starts with the flower, and then the flower eventually falls off the end. And each one of these petals reveals a new hand of bananas. And this is one of the weirdest things. Now, when you're doing stuff like this, I always be careful I'm not unraveling a black widow spider into my hand. But I'm not. But very weird, almost rubbery texture, and also very covered with wax. See that white stuff on it? That's all like a wax. Really cool. Yeah, so we're gonna get double bananas out of this deal. And the pup on this one is already so big that it's competing with the major stalk. This one's growing right out of the base of the one that's fruited. So we're gonna be right back in the game. Now here is another bit of advice from me for what it's worth on growing bananas, and that is that the key, in my opinion, is to have enough bananas. So if it's possible, to have enough plants that you can get a continuous production of bananas. Now, there's obvious limiters to that. I'm lucky enough that I can do that. And I'm even expanding on the idea. I had it to the point where I always had fruit set on banana trees in my yard for the last 2 or 3 years. Now, I interrupted that, which was, a choice to interrupt it to get that chicken coop in place. But already we're back up with production. And again, I ate it all to the fact that I'm supplementing all this stuff with enough watering, with the bunny manure, all different types of manure, with organic matter, with Permaculture, these basic things, and not much more. I'm not applying any pesticides. I'm not applying any artificial fertilizers of any kind. So, there's many more areas I can expand into, certainly, and I'm going to. One of the new areas I'm very interested in is biochar. I don't know if you're familiar with biochar, but it's a really cool way to add nutrients. When you burn a thing, the thing looks like it goes away, but actually what stays are in the ashes are all the nutrients and core components of what that thing was made of, and you can aggregate nutrients very rapidly using that technique, and then add that back into the soil, and you get the micronutrients. Until then, though, I am planning on adding a supplement this year, which I'm going to show on the channel, but it's a micronutrients, like you put a teaspoon of it around each plant. So I am going to add a little bit until I get my natural system functioning, where I'll just use biochar. And if you do these things in a logical way, you can see how all these systems connect to each other, and everything else outside of your yard too. But what I mean by that is, you could, for instance, I have a gigantic oak tree in my front yard. Well, that produces a lot of burnable wood. We like to have burnable wood because we like to burn wood. We like to have a little fire in the backyard with the kids, and so on and so forth, in the fire pit. And now all that, the output of that recreation is highly useful in fertilizing all your trees. So that's what I mean by all these systems overlap. One feeds the next, and you can make your backyard into the best system to serve you possible. And I'm rapidly approaching the point where I'm going to be able to feed myself independently from this yard. I do not plan to do that. Meaning, I like cheeseburgers. But the point is, if the cheeseburgers ever stopped flowing, and this is something we could all think about, independent of anything. This isn't related to any particular circumstance in the world or something. But what I mean is that, it's not a bad thing, a bad feeling to be able to know you can sustain yourself. And I love that idea, by the way, of picking the acorns off the oak tree, SR1, harvesting the acorns. Yeah, I always had this fantasy that they would taste like an almond. Seemed like, oh man, maybe there's just all these acorns are just like delicious. The squirrels really like them. And then I tried the acorn, and it was a bit bitter, to say the least. But I wonder if there is a way or a time to harvest them, or something that you could turn them into. They're absolutely got value in them nutritionally. I wonder. I think it would be interesting almost to, you have to get the tannins out. Yeah, how do you get the, do you just cook the tannins out of the, yeah, that's the tannins. Yeah, it was very, what's the term where you, you know, it gives you that dryness in your mouth when you taste something. I forget the name of it. Oh, you leach it in water. Okay, yeah, I would love to try that. That's incredibly interesting to me. But I suppose like chickens could and rabbits could probably just eat them without the tannins removed. So here's another thing is, in my particular circumstance, if I could harvest them, dry them in some way, and then crush them and feed them as forage to my chickens, that would be fun. Oh no, we've got a loose chicken. I don't know if my wife let it out. Hey, did you let out a chicken? All right, we got one free-range chicken. All right, this is telling me this is the third day in a row that the Rhode Island Red hybrids have escaped the enclosure, and it's time to clip the wings, which again is like trimming the toenails. Doesn't hurt the bird at all, just prevents them from flying into a situation where they could get in a bad deal. Yeah, she's an escape artist. That one's Chicken Joe or Blondie, which are, oh man, if they don't steal your heart, it's would be a surprise if you're around these creatures. They're so cool. And so I call them the golden retrievers of chickens because they don't mind being held. They literally will allow you to cradle them on their back like a baby and just sit there and coo. They're incredible creatures. They really are. And it's going to be even more incredible to see them start laying eggs. Now, those birds are rather, well, they're considered as smaller birds. And they're a hybrid between a Rhode Island white dwarf chicken breed and a Rhode Island red, which is a classic American heritage breed of chicken. And they produce these golden birds that are so productive, but they're also very curious, and they are known to become excellent lap chickens in post-chicken teenage years, if you can imagine such a thing. But that's a thing you can read about them. You know, these chickens, you know, they are lap chickens. They don't mind being held. And I halfway thought yesterday that Blondie flew up to me when I was back there, and it was like flying up to me to be picked up. It really was. You know, it was very interesting. Look at that thing. All right, pop quiz. Eat your backyard pop quiz. Yeah, exactly. Emotional support chicken. You nailed it, Sharon. Absolutely. Yeah, you could go pay a therapist, or you could actually just spend $3.99 at Tractor Supply. It's really your choice. The rest is all just stories. In my way of chalking it up. Having been knocked down a time or two and had to get back up, as we all have to do. The key is getting good at getting back up. Look at this thing. Anybody know what this is? Let's see. We know. Look at the beautiful, beautiful fruit. In my opinion, this is a must-have. Yes. Persimmon. It's a type of persimmon. Exactly. Sharon is correct. It is a type of persimmon. Now down one more level deeper. It tastes like chocolate, they say. It is known as the chocolate pudding fruit tree, the Black Sapote, which there is also a white sapote, S-A-P-O-T-E, sapote. If you're curious, these are vigorous growers, and the black and white sapote are pretty different in both their growth characteristics and the way they look. I love the black sapote just because it has that classic persimmon tree kind of look, in my opinion, but it's got that glossy ovate leaf, and you can see, look at my leaves. You know, they get eaten by bugs. Don't sweat it. That's part of the look. And in fact, what they get eaten by are these little white bugs that the chickens love. Let's shake it, see if I can. Yeah, and what you can do to get these little white bugs out, you just shake it and watch them to rain down. Rain down. Oh, a little spider. They'll eat those little crab spiders too. The chickens, man, you bring a crab spider over to the chickens and they're loving life. All right, hey Blondie. All right. What's the big deal here? What are you doing? You're not even, you have no concern with being separated from your flock? You're just free ranging? That's a cool roosting bar. Yeah. Here you go. Look. It's a native edible. Some dandelion? Now they've achieved the 3 foot, the 4, I guess it's 4, it might be 4 feet, but they've achieved the jump over the shorter fence. And then of course I wonder if they can achieve the jump over a larger fence, a 6 foot fence, which would really put them in a trouble zone. Neighbors' cats and things. Oh, this is the place they used to go all the time when they were little chicks. The weird thing was they used to love, we used to call them little chicken nuggets. Love to get on, yeah, that's your little chickie grill. They would, all of them, all 6 of them would pile up on this grill, which was stacked on this Eureka stump. Yeah, you're like, what my perch has changed. Here, get back up on there. I think a proper place for the chicken to want to perch is on top of a grill, don't you? Look at how beautiful you are. Holy moly. Don't worry. You, my chicken, will live a long life as long as the kitty doesn't get you. But we'll do our best to keep you safe from that outcome. All right, let's see if I can do the... Whoa, you're so big now. You're almost going too big for the grill. Try to do this. They actually, it was funny when they were chicks and that air conditioner unit would turn on. We'll let her go. She's got a free spirit. But you know what the free-range chicken doesn't get? The free-range chicken does not get the mealworms. Yeah, chick, chick. Yeah, chick, chick. Ah, there they are. Hello. Hello, hello. Would you like maybe some blackfly soldier larva? Take a peck at it if you want it. Yep. There you go. Yeah, single file line. Hey, Camel, welcome aboard. Oh, yeah, I'll just take a scoop of these for myself. Eat your backyard. So good now. Yuck, I'm not going to eat these. Look at those. Now, these are the grub Terra grubs. Shout out to Grub Terra. They sent me these grubs to try. And I appreciate it. I got to remember to put the link down in all these videos so you can get to them. But I'm into them. I'm into this company in terms of their mission. I thought it was pretty cool. They're trying to recycle food waste, which I'm stoked about. They claim it takes 20 pounds of recycled food to, I don't know the math. Anyway, you know, they turn recycled food into this, which is like a multivitamin for chickens. Now, there's mealworms, and then there's black soldier fly larvae typically you could buy to feed your little hens. Oh, nice, nice. The Moringa Seeds. Yeah, well, you'll have a grove like me pretty soon then, because one $8 pack of Moringa Seeds is like enough to make a forest. It's incredible, the abundance. All right, chickie. Yeah, chickie. Oh, look, and look who it is. Look who came back around. Oh, Moringa isn't hardy. Yeah, where you are, Camel. Yeah, it's more of a potted plant in that neck of the woods, but I bet you it would do pretty well in a large pot, maybe. All right, listen, you. All right, well, I'm not chasing after you. Not when everybody else followed the rules. No. I've got a chicken behind me. Oh yeah, SR1, I'm going to randomly plant seeds around the neighborhood. That is all killer, no filler. 100% legit and don't quit. Oh, there you go. All right. I caught her. There she is. Yep. What I mean is, I call that guerrilla gardening, where you just kind of go out and do like the old Johnny Appleseed. And you can see, you know, where others have done that. It's absolutely, I love doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like food could be growing everywhere, you know? All right, here we go. Here we go. More for you. We feed these chickens way too many of these. Grub Terra grubs. Gnarly. This, that company is located in New Jersey, which is really cool. Made in America. And it looks like these grubs are like the process they use. It flattens them and almost, you know, kind of chars them a little bit or cooks them. Probably makes them taste even more delicious to the chickens, in my opinion. But they say the black soldier fly larva is much more high nutrient, much more nutrient dense than the regular mealworms. Okay, here. Yeah, edible Pindo has, in my opinion, yeah, camel, the best edible palm fruit in terms of flavor. In my opinion, they taste almost like pineapple. All right, don't get crazy. Just stay inside the coop. We'll see. Maybe it's seeing those worms. If they're within sight, you know, it just drives them insane. They have to get to them. Maybe if I just put them out of sight. Oh, the date palm. Yeah, you have a point there. And I guess you could say the coconut is a pretty good one too. Let's go see if we got any. If we still have any Eureka Palm fruit. That's a great one as well. I'd say banana squash like flavor on the Eureka Palm. Try to eat some of those every day when they're coming in. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's some ripe ones. Now, this is the problem with not harvesting them, is you get 10,000 seeds all over the ground. They will all germinate. But here you go. It's a beautiful edible palm seed. Now the way to eat these is you just hold it in your finger and pinch. And you probably didn't see it, went out at light speed, but the pit just goes flying out of it. And then you're left with this. Yeah, which is quite good. They're actually better when you let them get a little bit of brown on them when they get to that. See that goo? The goo in it is almost like an okra sliminess. Not quite that bad though. Yeah. I should probably pick those and plant them somewhere. I got so many things growing from cuttings now. Give you a quick look at that. I'm going to be growing a whole bunch of new things with this new fruit tree series I'm getting ready to kick off. But I'm repopulating my yard with the good, you know, the medicinal aloe, the good variety. Got some cuttings of that. Decided to get into doing the variegated vine thing again. So I got some cuttings of that I'm growing here, there, and everywhere. The rest of stuff I've already mostly got in here. I got a cutting of this plant, and I'm not sure the name of it. There's one very similar to it. I think it's called copper leaf. But I thought I'd give it a try. I don't know if it's going to make it. I only have one cutting of it. Oh, choking hazard, yeah. Yeah. Now this type of thing is it's actually very easy to grow, and I forget what it's called, but it produces a big, almost daisy-like sunflower-looking flower on it. And folks around here use it for chop and drop, but it's a pretty shrub. This is my Persian mulberry, from my Persian mulberries, which are doing quite well, by the way. And then I've also started a new variety of aloe along here. I've now got 4 varieties. At one point I had 6, but I keep transitioning. But this is another type of really cool aloe that grows very commonly around here. You can actually find it growing wild, but it'll produce a nice situation. Certainly, right there. It'll be really pretty when it gets bigger. Again, aloe, edible. It's a thing you can chop and throw into the chicken pen. But the Moringa tree and the winds we had recently, the moringas I have over here were actually blown over. So I decided to tie them up. This is another way I'm trying to grow them, which is a good bit of advice. You don't need to be too worried about how close you plant them. Commercial plantings, they plant moringas a foot apart. That's what my research has told me. So now I'm planting them. I've done some where I've just done them right next to each other. And so far, so good. Here's one I grew from a seed. This one I grew in a pot. I put 2 seeds in, both grew. This one I just pushed a seed into the ground. And I pushed the seeds in the ground in a number of other places. And by the way, Sharon, if you're going to be doing Sarah Moringa seed, like, me, I do Johnny Appleseed, but if you're doing Sarah Moringa seed, if you pick a day or a series of days where it's going to be rainy, there you go. Yeah, although the seed probably do okay in the ground, but if you take off the dark shell that's on it, you have good luck. I'm really stoked on this roselle. Look at the calyxes. We're going to be using that for the pectin. We're going to be using that for the petals to eat. Tastes just like cranberries. I plan on drying these petals, which is a common way to do it. You can make tea out of them. You can just eat them out of hand. They're incredibly good for you, antioxidant-wise. Taste just like fresh cranberries. Amazing. And this is the other thing. This roselle, you have to really, you can get into a lot of, every part of it's useful. You have to really understand this plant holistically, because the stalk is an excellent fiber. The dye is also this red thing. You can get dye out of it. There's a number of things. So every part of the plant is useful. Very, very easy to grow. I would have 15 of them right now, if it weren't for the fact that my chickens realized very quickly this is the tastiest leaf in the land. These leaves, by the way, we'll eat one of these. Get my breakfast on here. Take one of these little ones. Yeah, that'll work. Just take a little one. Do the bug check. All systems operational. No bird poop on it. Tastes zesty. Almost like a cherryish flavor. Very good. It's not very fibrous. It's like lettuce. I mean, it's very easy to chew. What a great one. And the seeds you can harvest from those calyxes here. Okay, so this is a hibiscus, this plant. These are hibiscus flowers. These hibiscus flowers, you eat these petals here. But the inside of it is this white, kind of looks like almost like a acorn. It's full of pectin, which can be used to make jams. It's an incredibly useful substance to have. I'm going to eat this leaf now. Man, that's good. No surprise the chickens devoured all these. These are the ones we saved, and now as long as Goldie and crew don't get out too much, we'll be able to let these go. You always wonder what the chickens have been chewing on when they get free. But the roselle is another really, really good one to have in the yard. I fast typically in the mornings. I usually fast most days. And by that I mean I don't know if anybody on the stream does this kind of thing, but like I don't eat a big meal until later in the day. That's all that means. But sometimes I won't eat until 5, 6, maybe later, 8, and then I have a very small window of time that I eat in. And but during the day, if I get hungry, I eat. But hungry beyond normal hunger. But if I get like really hungry, like I feel it's affecting my energy, I'll eat something like a piece of fruit or vegetables or that kind of thing. And then the rest is just caffeine in the morning. The right dosage and quantity of caffeine. I find that to be a good way to operate. But okay, so why did I bring up all that stuff? The reason is that when you have a very empty stomach in the mornings, this is another thing I do, is I wander around the yard and I'll just eat fruit and vegetables that are growing around, Oh, listen to you. That's that's Blondie. You're gonna make my neighbors mad at me if you keep making that sound. Make me worried, but I know. The squeaky hen gets the grease. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Looking for more of those worms. They are very focused on my position here, you might notice. But when you do, here's my point. When you do have an empty stomach and you eat those types of high nutrient, and now I am pretty confident, although I'd love to know scientifically, that the stuff my yard's producing now with this fertilization has got high amount of nutrients in it. So I feel good right away just from eating those things. It's like you're putting in the the right best stuff into the gas tank and letting your body just totally utilize that stuff and not have to worry about anything else. Anyway, I find it gives me a ton of energy, and it's kind of a cool way to combine things like intermittent fasting or fasting type stuff with what's going on in your yard. And just to say a word about fasting, I think the worst thing you could do would be to starve yourself for a prolonged period of time. That's my personal opinion. But I think within short windows, it's very, very good for you. Yeah, what do you think? Blondie's hoping I'm going to become a vegetarian. No, we're going to be excellent here pretty soon. 100% eggs. 1,000 eggs. Oh, mimosa. Interesting. Looks like moringa. Like Roselli. What was that moringa? Let me see. Oh, moringa is mimosa. Oh, moringa. Okay. I'm not sure what mimosa is. I'm not sure we have that around here. Ah, okay. Persian silk tree. Interesting. Oh, you're thinking about it, aren't you? Yeah. It's interesting, the idea of invasive in the context of a backyard too, isn't it? How invasive can it get? I guess if only it's invasive if you don't trim it. Oh, these chickens are revealing. Acai bowls are big around here, and I did not realize they came from a palm. That's interesting. This chicken's gonna reveal it. See, that's Chicken Joe. She's like, here, I'll show you how I get out. See? Wait for it. Oh, almost. It's so interesting to see how a chicken's mind works. Doom palm naturally have branches. That's quite interesting. I've seen the Eureka Palm almost grow what I would consider branches. Oh, an attempt and a fail. Yeah, well, when I'm right here, you just can't resist it. Chicken Joe is definitely capable of flying over a 6-foot fence if she had enough intention. And I find it very interesting to just test their capabilities here, little chickies. Oh wow, that's cool. Tall with many heads. Yeah, the burrow-tail palm, which I don't think is a palm, it looks more like a dracaena or whatever. That's a cool one I like, that I was thinking of possibly adding to the yard. Also the champagne bottle palm, or wine bottle palm, some people call them. That's one I was interested in. It's a small palm. But the real palm of my dreams right now is the royal palm. I think I'm going to dare to get into the royal palm business in the front yard, meaning get into the 100-foot tall palm tree situation down by the street. We got a category whatever hurricane getting ready to spin up the center of the Atlantic here. That's exciting. Well, this one won't be hurting anybody that we know of, hopefully. It'll just go right up the center of the Atlantic, and we are going to have waves that will rival Hawaii. Yeah, this time of the year I always try to get my weight down as low as possible and be as healthy as possible to enjoy what can potentially be the best days of surfing of the year. And we get a lot of good days of surfing in the winter, but nothing beats just bebopping down there on the old bike and paddling out in your board shorts. The simplicity and joy of that at the end of your street, the simplicity and joy of that experience to me is supreme. But so is this. Yeah, I like that she tried to get out and did not succeed, but she is nutty. She's nutty to be held. I think that's part of it when I'm right here. It just drives her nuts. And we're out in the yard. But any day now, we're going to be opening up the old nesting boxes, turning on the machine, the egg machine. It's just waiting. And our strategy is to use hay in the nests. Using the low perch. Chicken Joe. Just pacing back and forth, huh? You're such a pretty bird. I think this is our most beautiful bird. She's got the most ornate crown. Hey there, bugger. Thanks for jumping on, James Tropical. Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on. James Tropical, how'd you doing that? Oh, wow. I had one of those cicada shells on my arm, and I thought I had a big bug on my arm. I just jumped about a foot. How'd you do in that storm? Hope everything turned out okay for you up there. I think I've got my hurricane tie-down approach figured out for this coop, and that's a good thing to switch gears here. Although this current hurricane out in the Atlantic is probably going to miss us plenty more where that one came from. So I want to be ready with a plan to get this chicken situation secured, and I'm going to strap the roof down in a hurricane. And I was thinking of also putting in maybe 4 concrete. Just build concrete with a piece of metal in it to serve as weights, and then tie down to those. Put the weights down under the ground a bit, then bury them and just tie down, and maybe have some tie down capability on the side here. Just tie this thing down in the event of a bad situation. But I can do that really quickly in the event of a storm that's likely, so I'm not going to go off the deep end doing it now. We're pretty much ready with all the shutters, so we'll see how it goes. Since everything is going so well in the backyard now, I'm really, unfortunately, having all this hope that it won't get all blown down again. But if we do get an encroaching storm, I'll do some videos on prepping the yard, more so than I have already. One essential prep is power lines. Protect the power lines. If you've been through a hurricane, as many as I have, you know this is number one. This is number one. If your power lines go, and you don't control the power line situation, of course, but you do control the power lines in your backyard. And, you know, to get the tragedy would be for your power to be restored in your neighborhood. At one point, we went 3.5 weeks without power, and we had 2 kids under 3 years old. And it was sweltering hot. But the point is, man, you know, that air conditioning never felt colder than when it turned back on, and wow, it was amazing. But the biggest tragedy would be your power is restored in your neighborhood, yet in your yard it's not up because you have some major issue. So I think we all just kind of do our part to keep the stuff off the power lines. Also, the other thing is, in these high wind events in your yard, I think you have to be prepared to de-umbrella your trees, what I would call de-umbrelling your trees. And that is to, you know, take the general kind of umbrella feature of a tree that would allow it to wind to get under it, and then it just to get either knocked down or you know, lifted and then knocked down. But it just creates this leverage point at the top that eventually, you know, is going to compromise it. It all depends on a number of factors, but you know, anytime you're just going to apply heavy wind on a thing for day after day, having that umbrella feature is just going to be tragic. And what happens is these fruit trees can have gigantic cracked branches and get horribly damaged, and it takes years to recover. Whereas if you're willing to just, you know, do what needs to be done, make the sacrifice as the storm comes on shore, yeah, you might impact fruit production for a year, but it's going to come back and not be all snapped over. So that's something I do, is be ready to make that call. Now, thing is though, you make that call, then you might have branches laying around everywhere, so you have to make that call soon enough, which is why I do a continuous management of the canopy of my yard. And having seen the way the trees behave in high wind events, I have a pretty good understanding of what can make it and what can't. So, oh, you, come on. Oh, look at you. That's a new pose that she does there. That's interesting. When I over top, just like, it's like that rooster thing I was talking about earlier. Definitely a new chicken behavior, that pose that she did. Well, since their behaviors are changing, I'm going to be optimistic and say eggs are right around the corner. I need to go back and do my farmer math, like every good farmer would have written down when they bought the chicks and how old they are, so they'd know exactly when the eggs would likely start. I could have them lay an egg back in the corner of the yard. Who knows, maybe that's why they're making a little bit more sounds, as they're starting to get those eggy feelings. These smaller birds can actually get what they call egg bound, you know, where the egg doesn't come out and they can die from that. And so my hope is I'm just going to grow these chickens to be as huge as they possibly can by giving them so much good food and exercise that they'll be strong enough to live. Now, the lifespan of these chickens varies depending on the breed you get. So if you're thinking about getting chicken breeds, that's something to calculate in. There's a lot of what I call chicken math that you can do. That's probably a smart thing to do. How long do they live? That's worth knowing. Hey you. Let's see if you'll do that again. Yeah, she did it again. Interesting. You see how you touch her and then she just relaxes for a little while. One chicken. Only one chicken is neurotic. And that's about the math, I think, in psychology. So yeah, how long they live. I think these hybrid birds only live for a few years, whereas the barred rocks will live to 4 or 5 years. I'm pretty sure that's about the lifespan. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's easy to just stare at these chickens, for sure, but I'm just pleased with their progress. Here's a classic. sprout the coconut. Yeah, you can watch the coconut sprout. I might bury that a little bit in the ground, but that's a dwarf Malay coconut that I'm hoping will sprout. In fact, the real place to sprout it would be in a pot so that I can then plant it where I really want it to be. Actually, sprouting coconuts is a pretty easy thing to do. Anyone can do it. Just got to kind of bury one halfway in the dirt. Keep it watered. And about half the time it'll grow. Go to places closer to the equator and you see all the small coconut trees growing around the base of the larger coconut tree almost every time. Where it's left to grow wild, that is. Yep. These hens are relaxing, getting ready to do some dust baths. Happy to see it. Well, we're off to a good start. I appreciate everybody jumping on the live stream. This is a fairly long one, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. SR1, Camel, James Tropicals. Thank you for jumping on. And everybody else, I appreciate you very much. I hope this will inspire folks to, well, you're not going to inspire anybody if you're going to keep making that sound. Inspire you to add this kind of stuff to your yard, maybe, if it's something you're interested in. But I think it's a great addition. It's really, all this stuff's really been a positive impact on my life. So that's what this channel's all about. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hope you have unlimited prosperity moving into the future. Have a good day.